Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of the Leadership Void podcast. I'm Enrique with my co-host Vince to bring you the best in our veteran, military spouse, and first responder community. And Vince will introduce today's guest.
Thanks, Enrique. We travel all the way to Greenbelt, Maryland today. Guess why? Because we have Laurie Sayles with us. She's the president and CEO of Civility Management Solutions. Laurie, welcome to the show. Let's just start off. Tell us a little bit about you.
Hello, guys. First of all, thank you for having me. What an honor. And thank you for what you're doing to support us veterans out here that's trying to make things happen right after we get out that uniform. But I am Laurie Sayles. I'm from Chicago, Illinois, born and raised from the city of Chi-Town. And I actually worked at the train station in high school. And during that season, I would see the guys come in once a month from Great Lakes in their Navy uniforms right before graduation. And I was the girl that, back then I modeled professionally. So I had this certain look, right? So one of the guys, all you need was one to be brave enough to come and ask me, what are you doing after work? So I found myself being a tour guide to Navy guys prior to their graduation, experiencing Chicago, taking them to Sears Towers and, the waterfront and so forth and so on. But that started really getting me interested in joining the military. So that was I learned some songs and everything, right? Because they were walking and talking and singing these songs. But I didn't join the Navy. I joined the United States Marine Corps, and I served 10 years, 7 years active and 3 years reserve, ending around Desert Storm. And so that would be around 1989. 1992 is when I actually was released from the reserves. But I've been out in the DC metropolitan area, hitting the cement here, trying to get to work, trying to figure out how it goes. This was before the internet or any of that stuff existed. So it was a little different time at that time to look for a job. TAPS didn't exist, any of that. But I moved around like I was still serving. I left here, went back to Chicago. Then I left Chicago, went to Florida. Then I got a reality check. Maryland is where I need to be. So I came back here, got my degree, and moved forward. And entrepreneurship and what I do today fell into place.
Absolutely great history there. Nostalgic to me because I served some time in Rantoul, Champaign, Urbana at Chanute Air Force Base back in the day, right around the time you're talking
back
about.
In the day, so letting you know it was back in the
Yeah, you talk about, songs and no internet, so we're already dated. But I tell you, it's good to see that your time as an entrepreneur early, right? Because you talk about taking sailors around, that's the entrepreneurial spirit right there. But that the Navy was a great branch for you to go into service, although you went into the Marine Corps. Yeah, I love my devil dogs. I'm a Gator sailor, so I understand that full well. But you had that trajectory. You had the going back and forth. It's hard to get out of those habits, right? You finally got together on creating this civility management solution. So tell us a little bit about that.
Let me say something about what you just said. I ended up running a boot camp program here in Maryland for almost 5 to 6 years to let you know it's kind of hard to get out of it when you're in it. And so running these women, low rider, I mean, they were loving it, making them do push-ups, not getting on their knees. So I did that for about 5 years. So entrepreneurship has been me from the beginning. I mean, I've been an entrepreneur really all my life, but finding the ways of money. So hence government contracting. I was offered a job and it was through a friend. And she said, Lord, we got the perfect position for you. At that time, I had no idea that people actually worked in the federal government space that was not a federal government employee. I didn't know what a contractor was. And I thought, wow, this has been here all along. So I felt a little cheated because I'm like, I should have been in this space a long time ago. As veterans, right? We are accustomed to orders. You go somewhere, you got a start date and an end date. Well, guess what government contracting is? It's a contract. It has a start date and an end date. Sometimes you get to go overseas, depending on who you work for. Like if you work for the State Department or DOD as a government contractor, it's just a perfect landing spot for people that actually serve to go into government contracting, even as an employee for other companies. So when I found out about it, my interest was piqued, especially when I saw that the president CEO was a Black male that was a service disabled veteran. I think he was retired Army. I'm thinking, wait a minute, what is this, right? And when I learned really what was going on with these multi-million-dollar contracts, I'm thinking, this is the wealth transfer. this is where I need to be in entrepreneurship, not all these little hustles, you know. So I stopped being a boot camp instructor and focusing on Simplify Fitness, which was the name of my business entity then, and gave all of my energy toward building a government contracting firm.
I'm just here, just in awe, from a tour guide to the Marines and to Simplify Fitness. That's an amazing trajectory, and bouncing around the country. From Florida to back to your new home, Maryland, right?
It's
From
still acting like I'm in the military, right?
I love it. And what you also stated that someone, opened the door and let you see a little bit more about contracting, because we obviously know what we know, but TAPS doesn't do us justice. And we need mentors. We need great individuals to showcase what's out there. And you said it's wealth transfer is what I wrote down. So love to hear more about your entrepreneurship spirit, but what challenges and lessons learned you'd like to share with our audience about entrepreneurship?
Well, entrepreneurship, one of the value adds of being a veteran, we just put that piece in there, is that, we're given discipline. We're taught resilience and tenacity, integrity, courage, right? And steadfastness. I mean, it just becomes a part of who you are when you serve, that just comes with the territory. Learning how to follow so that you can lead. So all of those things that you get from serving in the military is great foundations for being an entrepreneur. Because I'm going to use entrepreneur more so than I use business owner, because there are, to me, some differences between the two. Because entrepreneurship is also about relationships. At least in the Marine Corps, teamwork was required. You could not be an individual and wear that uniform. You had to be part of the team. You had to learn how to work with others. This wasn't about whether you like them or if you don't like them, what gender they are, what race they are. That's so irrelevant, because the mission is still the mission, and people can die based off of you having problems over nothing, right? So I love all those parts of me that I bring to my entrepreneurship. So that would be one thing that I want to share for your audience, to know that if you serve, you really have what it takes. Is just about finding what area that excites you, where you're not working for your money. You're just doing what you do and they pay you for it, right? And so you have that value. But in the government contracting space, one of the things that was specific about this area is that it's not taught anywhere other than certain training places. Like, they call it Apex Accelerator today, but back then it was called PTAC. And so I very quickly connected myself to PTAC and just sat down when I was still an employee and took in some training. Because of one other thing about veterans, right? And the reason why our country is the best in the world is because of training, right? The Air Force trains you to do your job, the Army, the Navy, the Marine Corps, and trains us at a level where we're considered the best in the world, right? So we're accustomed to being trained. I don't understand how to start doing something and never taking out the time to learn what it is all about. And if you're going to get into government contracting, I highly recommend that, because, there are rules, regulations, processes, and procedures, which we also love, right? As veterans, I mean, we're accustomed to that. You give us the guidelines, we go. And there are guidelines to being in the government contracting space. So that is certainly something that I will give anyone, that no matter what business you're trying to be interested in, franchises included. I love the idea of franchising because it kind of also fits a veteran's life of rules, regulations, process, procedures. You can't go to Dunkin' Donuts and tell them, I want to make a swirly cake donut named after Enrique. They're going to look at you like, no, that's not what we offer, right? So, but a veteran doesn't have that mindset to kind of be overly creative. It's like, give us the guidelines, we follow them, and we're successful with that, right? And we do it to the very best. And so that would be my thoughts on giving some tidbits on that, is make sure you continue to be a person that likes to be trained and accept that training whenever that time comes for you.
When you start to think about all the ideas that come to people's minds and how you can go through an entrepreneur route, I love that you mentioned, hey, this is an entity or an organization, a sphere of influence where there's still procedures. And you're right. We're veterans because we love procedures and we love guidelines and we love to do it the way it's been specified. And that is a space that continues to do that. And I can see a lot of veterans really reaping rewards for, for their past experience as a part, like when you come out to the civilian world, some places don't have that, and we go nuts.
Exactly. Exactly. You're like, wait a minute, didn't we just meet about this last week and you didn't do anything differently? The report is the same. And it's like that week after week. And I'm sitting there going, oh, Lord, is anybody going to do any work around here? You know what I'm saying?
When you started your company,
Mhm.
you saw a match, right? You saw a fit. Oh, this is perfect.
Yes.
Let me go down this road. And you started with something in mind, talking about the future, right? And the end in mind. What's on the horizon for Civility Management Solutions?
Well, I'm a legacy minded person. So with having the mindset of being in a legacy, you know, it's the matter of, okay, I want to build a company that is going to stay around. I don't want to build a company with the mindset of I'm only building it to sell. I'm building it with the mindset of selling, because that makes you reach for the stars, right? You want somebody to be considering your company to purchase it. And I've gotten a couple of those emails, interestingly, already. However, I don't plan on selling. I want to be a part of, that old money concept. I am a woman that don't have children, but I am others minded. And so I'm always seeking out leaders and other individuals and watching what their talents are and their skills so that they can bring that to the table in my life in some kind of way, and I can benefit from it and they can benefit from me. And we can kind of keep this trajectory of civility management solutions moving forward. We're trying to be up to a mid-tier size company. My goal is, I don't have a time frame on it, but it's a lot of very successful woman-owned, minority-owned 8A program, part of that program, services disabled veteran small businesses that have done very well. But many of us have not, the majority of us have not gotten to the mid-tier size. So at least get up to it, because to me, then it shows some success. It shows the success of the small business administration programs that they offer for the women. Where if you just stay small, that's great. I'm not coming against it at all. I mean, because that's where I am. I'm in the small category. But I'm a Marine for real. So I'm accustomed to operating at a level mentally of, average is unacceptable to me. So I'm trying to make sure that Civility Management Solutions shows others, not just for me and for my team to be successful, but others that we can be as successful as really our heart desires. So don't just accept 20 million and think that's, oh, I'm growing. No, 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 no. There's a lot of companies. I mean, Lockheed was small at one point, right? I mean, and that's far reaching there, but it's just a lot of mid-tier size firms. They're able to leave a legacy and stay around and be in business for years, serving whatever community they serve, because Civility Management Solutions is predominantly in the federal government contracting space now. We have some state and some local work in conference logistics and some human capital training, but we want to definitely grow in the commercial space. We've had a little work there, but I want to grow that so that we don't have all our eggs in one basket. Sequestration is real. So some businesses went out of business due to the fact that all of their dollars were coming from the federal government. And I don't ever want us to do that. And also with the diversity in our offerings. We have diverse offerings now. We will always have some diversity in our offerings, not just be in one particular area, because there's a lot of people that were now able to pivot. They weren't able to, like conference logistics. We offer that. Some people was not able to pivot to what we're doing right now, like a Zoom or WebEx or anything like that. And so these person-to-person conferences, they didn't survive. So being open to all of that as we continue to grow and watch the offerings out here that's available as this technology continues to increase. Here we got artificial intelligence now. If no one's paying attention to that and trying to see how can I get in, is that going to stem another offering from Civility Management Solutions? We are paying attention to those areas as well.
I definitely love it, Laurie. What I'm also hearing is that you're keeping with the times, right?
Yes.
Everything is evolving. You're evolving with it. You're diversifying your portfolio. You have your North Star, your legacy up and running. I'm going to be a mid-size company.
Yes.
I
Yes.
love it. Not shooting for just the small. I'm going big. I'm going hard. I'm going Marine style. So,
Yeah.
I love it. So let's transition. What do you do, Laurie, yourself to sharpen your skill sets that aids you to thrive in this professional life you have?
I give my time continuously to training, and I mean, for my mind. For example, this weekend I'm going to Orlando for the National Veteran Small Business Coalition, right? You all are going to be there. Of course you are. You cannot miss it. It is sold out, by the way. And this is a plug for them almost, right? That we're putting out here. But they're a great entity. They've changed their leadership, and we're all really watching what he's doing. And he and his team is doing an outstanding job, as well as leaning in on the advocacy, which is part of who I am. But that kind of stuff keeps me sharp, as well as when it comes to financial. I make sure I go and I spend time training my mind in finance. I train my mind in wealth development, as far as 7 streams of income. I'm a woman that loves God, so I do follow some biblical principles and I apply it to how I operate my day-to-day life. So there are many areas that I spend my time listening to YouTube, podcasts, to make sure that I stay on top of my game, because it's very stressful. Dealing with people can be very stressful, right? And so, I mean, I'm a Marine. And so, there was a certain way we dealt with people, right? I mean, so I'm smiling, but I don't use those words. I don't talk like that as I once did. But bottom line is, I can give you 4 or 5 words out of my mouth and you understand exactly what I mean, right? So, but when you're dealing out here in the civilian world, you have to clean your act up a little bit, And so some of that is just learning how to balance it. I take out time, get my massages. I exercise. I exercised this morning before I met with you guys. I go get me some facials. You know what I'm saying? I take out some time for me. And when I travel, I always enjoy myself during my business travels. I find something to do that gives some time for me. Because, of course, if we can't keep our minds right, I don't care what you're really trying to pull off in life, it's not going to be beneficial to you. So I practice a lot of the things still that can remind me of being a Marine, and the years that I serve. I tell folks now, especially that serve, that you're going to experience things in the entrepreneurship journey that I promise you'll be able to go back in your mind to something you experienced maybe when you're 20 something years old and pull from that and get through it. You're like, oh, you know what? I've kind of dealt with this or this person or this kind of situation, and I got through it before, so I can get through it again, and use those same techniques because they work.
I love being able to pull from the recesses of your mind
Mhm.
to fuel your trajectory through some of these problems, because you're right. You're going to see some things and you're going to wonder, right? Do you
Yeah.
understand the words that are coming out of my
Come out of
mouth?
my
Right?
mouth.
Because we do have a way of dealing with some things. Fortunately and unfortunately, sometimes those conversations go astray. But in the civilian world, it's a whole different ball of wax. You can still have a stern approach, but you have to know that there's some decorum. There's some words that are not
Yes.
accepted in any circles except the military sometimes,
Yes.
and you have to adjust and pivot to that. And
Mhm.
so I love that you mentioned that 20-something-year-old that you can go back to.
Mhm.
So let's go back there. And what advice did you receive when you was growing up in the military that you would like to pass on to an emerging leader today?
Wow. And it's real simple. And it's just, I can do it. I can do it. Being a woman in the Marine Corps in the 80s, was, I don't know what the ratio was, but probably like 20-1, right? Or more for women. And then I happen to be African American. So that just, let's be clear about that being another strike. So it ain't like they welcomed us in a lot of cases. I know what it is to be in the presence of a gunnery sergeant in the office, S4 office in Cherry Point, North Carolina. And that gunnery sergeant really was clear that he thought all of us women should be somewhere at home in the kitchen, barefoot, and cooking food and taking care of babies. And he would verbalize it. And he was not using nice words when he would talk about it. And at this point, I think I had made it to sergeant. And I was just getting a little hot and heavy. I am from Chicago for real. I grew up with 2 older brothers and a dad. So it ain't like I'm the average girl anyway, right? So, and here it is now. I got some privates and some PFCs that have joined the office, and they're breaking down. And I'm needing to go into the restroom and get them together. And my attitude is, you can do this. But I remember others telling me that. But I went into the captain and said, "Sir, can I speak with you?" And he said, "Yes." And I closed the door and he saw the look on my face and I started letting him understand what was going on with this gunnery sergeant. He told me, "Sergeant Sayles, the next time he opens his mouth and it's inappropriate, I want you to know that I stand in total agreement of whatever you need to do to fix it." I said, "Thank you very much." Needless to say, I lit him up the time I started talking about his mama. Went straight with him. And I mean, it was nasty. The word got around the whole battalion. "Oh my God, Sergeant Sayles took off the gunnery's head." I'm telling you, I so enjoyed that moment. And I felt good because the captain told me good. I was like, "Oh, now I'm not going to get in trouble." But yes, it's the mindset specifically for any entrepreneur. If you're a woman, even know that there's an extra challenge in that. It's just the truth. I mean, there's no reason people are like, "Oh, it's no longer safe." No, that's just not true. I know what it is to walk into, especially as a veteran, you're still going to walk into the room and find yourself being surrounded by men because we are now in business. It's not a majority of women in the room unless it's a woman's event. And you have to still be able to use those tactics that you learned that got you through and that you survived from when you served, because males can be inappropriate sometimes and sometimes innocently so, right? They're just thinking, "Oh, I'm just, talking to this woman and I need to, let her know I like her," but he don't know how to say it. He comes out his mouth and does stupid stuff, right? But you just know how to correct him so he can respect you. And that's not going to change out here in this entrepreneur journey. And as a veteran, you just have to adapt and adjust, as you were stating earlier, to learn how to communicate at a different level, because you're dealing with different people that have never served, so they won't understand that. But more importantly, that's where your training comes in. You spend some time listening to people that you admire, how they communicate, and you feed that to yourself, no matter who it may be. It's plenty of podcasts, plenty of YouTube. I mean, it's just endless information out there. And the other thing I'll say is that we as veterans got to do better at marketing ourselves to the point of being proud of what we've done. Learning how to come out of the acronym land, or when you say the acronym, pronounce the whole thing afterwards so people can tell the story, right? So people have understanding about who you are, what you've done, what you've accomplished. Because if you don't do it, they're definitely not gonna. They're just gonna. "Oh, thank you for your service." They just think you ran around shooting off guns, and that's not the case, as you all probably know that, right? So a lot of jobs in the military that people are not really identifying with out here in the civilian world because they don't think that that's part of the day-to-day work within the military. And so marketing yourself and being comfortable at talking about yourself is another challenge for us veterans, because again, we're so accustomed to being part of a team instead of shining the light on ourselves.
No, absolutely. Lori, for me, after 21 years, I did the same thing. I was like
Mm.
doubting myself. So that having that mindset that I can do it attitude is so important. And I now say, if respect is not served at the seat of the table, you pull up a chair like you did and you say, "I belong here," and Gunny,
Yes.
your head's off. So hats off to you. I
Yeah.
appreciate what you do because it's true. We all Americans, because bullets don't see color, they only see Americans. So you're
That's
part of the
correct.
team. I loved it what you did, and people look up to you. Either you had to go street on him, but he
Yeah,
learned his lesson.
little street.
Yeah, a little bit, but you got the respect you deserve, and great
Yes.
advice of can-do attitude, having the mindset, marketing yourself
Mhm.
after the military. I also would love to hear, and our audience would love to hear, most memorable leadership aha moment you either had in the military or through your entrepreneurship journey.
I think the high moment would be, unfortunately, I'm a single woman. I'm now divorced, but it was a very, very nasty divorce. There was a big attack on what was trying to um, be accomplished, which was to destroy the company. And me and my team had to really come together. We got, into praying and believing for the best, and we stuck it out. We all had to take pay decreases. I had to lay some people off, and it was a very, very challenging time. And looking at it from the outside, it was not looking pretty, but we fought through that, and that was a time that people got a chance to kind of see, and even for myself, to see how strong of a woman I can be. That tenacity of saying, I'm not going to just wave the white flag. This again, going back to my Marine Corps, I'm fighting. I have to fight because I must win this challenge. I must win this battle. And now to come out of that positioning, and we pretty much have doubled, more than doubled, from that time that we would pretty much had to take a dip and bring ourselves back up. And so now we're just upward all the way as far as I'm concerned. But that would be the biggest challenge I've had and the biggest time that I had to step up and show my leadership. I never one day stayed in my bed. I never one day got in a corner and just cried and got in a fertile, what's that? Yeah, that just crawled up. I can't find the word. I never got in that position. I stood strong, I stayed strong, and I fought the fight of saying, no, this is my business and I'm not going to let anybody tear it down. And that definitely took a lot out of me, but I'm happy to see the reward of it now, of showing my leadership. Whereas now I can be gone for days and my team is like, they got it, because it strengthened them to say, we're going to fight to make sure that this company stays alive, because we never want to look for another job again. That's my conversation in my corporate office. This is my last job. I'm not ever filling out another resume and job application for a job. And I have several people on my team. That's exactly how they feel. So it's been a great experience on the other side of it, because it just made the whole team stronger to see leadership actually lead.
I love that. You talk about fetal position, right?
Fetal, thank you, bud.
Going in and the world doesn't exist.
Is beating you down. Thank you for that.
I'm listening to you and I can see the strength, in your words when you're describing that, and such a battle. We know.
Yeah.
Not a battle that's easily going into, especially if the fight is hard, right? But oh man, I don't think they realize they married a Marine. But
I don't know. People ask me that. They say, Laurie, did he know you served in the Marine Corps? I'm like, yeah. Well, what was he thinking? I was like, I don't know.
So, hey, some people just don't know.
But, and I hope all the veterans hear this. When people want to, second guess you got to remember who you are. Put it on.
Yeah, and amazing that for all those listening, and you're a veteran, and you think that history won't ever come up again. Oh, it comes up, and usually when you most need it. And so look into that old you, that service you, and pull out that strength. Pull it out, because it's there. We all had to break down in order to build up. So we've been there before. So yes. I'm happy everything's gone well for you and you're on the up. But as in everything in business, you're going to have some challenges. You're going to have some changes, maybe not as drastic as that one. But what are your strategies around dealing with those times of change and challenges?
Oh, well, first I go to the word. That's one place I go so I can find my peace and my strategy. Angry, sin not, right? I had to read that every single day, because I was angry. But at the same time, my friends, and I'm not going to say family because that wouldn't be the story, but my friends, as we served, right? We were surrounded by our comrades and they got us through moments then. And it's no different now. And your friends, whether they're veterans or not, they can and should support you. In many cases, they will. But going and hiding and putting yourself into a cocoon is not the best answer. So that camaraderie that we love, I still practice that today. When I need people, I'll pick up the phone just for a phone conversation. It can be simple, going out to have lunch with someone or having a dinner, because it allows you to kind of settle into whatever you're dealing with, because you can see somebody across from you and they care. And you don't even have to talk about that. You can be talking about anything, but the fact that they're spending that time with you, people that go to jail, right? They put you in the hole. That is severe punishment, because you are alone by yourself. And for whatever amount of time they want to put you in there, they're trying to torment you mentally. And it works. So we as a people, we need people. We need human touch. We need human communication. So with that, never forget that that's a tool in the toolkit that you have to use to get yourself through any of those challenges that you may have in this experience of being an entrepreneur.
I totally love it. First, honor your feelings is what I heard initially, and two, find that tribe that will hopefully lift you up and give you some great advice and be just there for you. So,
Mhm, mhm.
because, yeah, being in the hole, being in isolation, and this being Mental Health Awareness Month is not
Huh?
really rewarding. So, continue to flourish with a tribe because you go further. I love that. So, folks listening to Laurie today was an honor, but how do they get a hold of you or Civility Management Solutions?
Well, Civility Management Solutions is civilityms.com. That is our website. But on LinkedIn, of course, is Laurie Sayles. And I do some advocacy work out there fighting for us veterans, for us women, for us minorities. I'm on the Hill. I've been out there like 5 times now fighting. So lauriesayles.com is a website that was put in place, just branding Laurie in her speaking and her advocacy and my community efforts to give back to other people. And so it's just been um, a joy to be with you guys because you all are just fantastic. This was easy. So contacting me is one way, but make sure you stay in touch with these guys and everything that they're doing to support us veterans in our community.
Well, we appreciate that plug. And folks, we're going to have all of that information as part of the show notes and video so you can get a hold of Laurie, her company, and her brand, right? Personal brand is a huge thing. So I'm glad you're doing that. And folks, if you want to get a hold of us at the Leadership Void podcast, the leadershipvoid@gmail.com is where you'll send that correspondence. If you want to see a guest or us cover a particular leadership topic, send us the message through that means, and Vince and I will curate that.
Absolutely. And we're just so honored to have Laurie with us today. I also add she's a coach because she's a dynamic motivational speaker as well. So,
Thank you.
but talk about dynamic individuals. We have great sponsors. We have Triple Nickel, VEI, and FAVOB sponsoring this wonderful show. So we thank them. But today is all about Laurie and what she's doing in the world, impacting one person at a time. Laurie, thank you and hope you have a great day.
Thank you guys so much. Appreciate it. Bye-bye.